She killed my daughter, and now I'll kill her son. Those words echoed in my mind the moment I saw him, a 10-year-old boy with soft curls and eyes hauntingly like hers. He stood by the school fence, laughing, tossing maple leaves into the air and catching them again, as if the world were kind and time carefree. But I knew better. The world is a betrayer. Time is an executioner. And justice? Justice is mine. My name is Evelyn Carter. I'm 46. I live in a Chicago suburb, in a house with white shutters and a neat lawn where tulips still bloom, planted by my daughter, Lila. She was 13 when she died. 13 years old, with dreams of ballet, first love, graduation, college. All of it stolen by one woman. One smile. One false promise. Her name was Claire Harper. We'd been friends since college. Even after marriage and moving to different states, we stayed close. She often visited with her son, Noah, a year younger than Lila. The kids played like siblings. We'd sip wine on the porch, talking about school, husbands, dreams. I trusted her more than my own shadow. Then everything shattered. In the summer of 2021, Lila went with Claire and Noah for a weekend to a lakeside cabin in Wisconsin. I agreed because I trusted her. Because Claire was like a sister. Because foolishness, I thought, wasn't a crime. But foolishness can kill. 2 days later, the police called. Lila had drowned. Officially, an accident. She'd gone swimming at night, slipped on a wet rock, hit her head and drowned. Claire slept through it all. Noah saw nothing. He was asleep in the cabin. I drove there. Saw my daughter's body. Cold. Lifeless. Eyes closed, as if she'd merely fallen asleep. But I knew she'd screamed. She'd called for help. And Claire. Claire never even left the house. At the funeral, Claire wept. Hugged me. Whispered, "Forgive me, Evie." I didn't hear. "I'm so sorry." I believed her. Or wanted to. Until I found the messages on her phone. A week after the burial, I went to her house to collect Lila's things left at the cabin. Claire opened the door with red-rimmed eyes, but in her gaze flickered not remorse, but fear. I stepped inside. Her phone lay unlocked on the nightstand. I hadn't meant to snoop. But fate or vengeance pushed me. There they were, texts. Not to her husband. Not to friends. But to a man named Marcus, who lived in that same lakeside town. Their messages began 3 months before Lila died. They'd been meeting in secret. Claire had lied to her husband, lied to me. And that night of the tragedy? She hadn't been sleeping. She'd been with him. Marcus's last message, "You sure the girl won't interfere?" Claire's reply, "She's asleep. Everything's under control." I froze. My heart ripped from my chest. Everything's under control. While my daughter lay dead. I didn't tell Claire I knew. Didn't scream. Didn't call the police. Because I understood. There was no proof. Just words. And words are wind. The courts wouldn't believe me. The police would close the case as an accident. And Claire would go on living, laughing, kissing her son, who might have known more than he admitted. Noah. That same boy by the school fence. I began watching them. At first from afar. Then closer. Claire and her husband divorced a year after Lila's death. He moved to California. She stayed with Noah in their Evanston home, just a half-hour drive from me. Life moved on. She got a new boyfriend. Smiled in Instagram posts. Shared photos of Noah in a t-shirt that read, "Best son." And I'd stare at those pictures and think, "You killed my daughter. You let her die." Why did I believe that? Because 6 months after the funeral, I ran into Noah at a mall. He stood alone at an ice cream kiosk. I approached, introduced myself as a friend of his mom's. He didn't recognize me. Lila rarely showed him my photos. We talked. He was quiet, withdrawn. Then he said, "Mom wasn't sleeping that night. She wasn't even home." I froze. "You're sure?" "Yeah." I woke up. She wasn't in her room. I went to the kitchen for water. Later, I heard her come back. In the morning, we found Lila. He looked down. I saw it, guilt. Not for killing, but for staying silent. Maybe he'd been scared. Maybe Claire had ordered him not to speak. But the truth remained. Claire had lied. She hadn't been home. She'd betrayed trust. She'd let my daughter die for a secret tryst. From that day, I knew there would be no justice. So I would create it myself. I began preparing. Not recklessly. Not like a madwoman. Methodically, like a surgeon. First, psychologically. I created a fake social media profile and befriended Noah. He was a lonely child, and my care felt like comfort. I messaged him as Aunt Martha, a supposed family friend from another state. He replied, shared his thoughts. I learned when he had tests, when he was upset, when he celebrated a win with his school soccer team. Meanwhile, I studied Claire. Her routines. Her weaknesses. She drank, not an alcoholic, but 1 glass of wine at dinner turned into a bottle. Sometimes 2. She lost jobs, first at a marketing agency, then at a cafe. Her new boyfriend left after 8 months, couldn't handle her mood swings. I watched. I waited. Then the moment came. 2 years had passed since Lila's death. 2 years of pain, insomnia, rage masked as calm. I kept my job as an accountant, paid taxes, smiled at neighbors. No one knew the void inside me, filled only by one thought. In the fall of 2023, I learned Claire planned a trip to Wisconsin. The same lakeside cabin. The same date, the anniversary of Lila's death. Maybe she wanted atonement. Maybe just nostalgia. To me, it was a sign. I followed her. She came with Noah. No boyfriend. No friends. Just the 2 of them. I rented the neighboring cabin, the one that had been closed before. The owner agreed for double the price. I brought everything, food, water, a laptop, and something else. That night, I approached their house. Windows were open hot, despite September. I heard voices. Claire was drinking. Talking to her son. Forgive me, Noah. I know you think I'm a bad mom. But I just wanted to be happy. You left Lila, he whispered. I didn't leave. I just didn't hear. You were with Marcus. I know. Silence. Then sobs. I stepped back. My heart pounded. He knew. He'd known all along. And stayed silent, not out of fear, but love. Because he forgave her. But I couldn't. The next day, I ran into them, claiming I'd also come to the lake to remember Lila. Claire paled. Noah watched me warily. Evie, I didn't know you'd. Neither did I that you'd return here, I said calmly. But I guess it's fate. She didn't object. We drank coffee on the porch, talked about weather, school, old times. I was the perfect guest, polite, composed. Noah stayed distant at first, but seeing I meant no harm, he relaxed. By evening, I suggested a campfire dinner like old times when all 4 of us sat here, laughing, roasting marshmallows. Claire agreed. She wanted redemption. I gave her a chance, on my terms. When night fell, we sat by the fire. Claire was already drunk. Noah stared into the flames. I poured her more wine. Do you remember when Lila first jumped off the raft? I asked. Yes, she whispered. She was so proud. And, do you remember her calling for you that night? Claire snapped her head up. Terror in her eyes. Evie, you were with Marcus. You let her die. No. I came back. I thought she was sleeping. I didn't know. You knew she might go out. She loved the lake at night. You knew. But you chose yourself. She burst into tears. Noah stood. Mom, is it true? Noah, please. Claire reached for him. I rose. Walked to him. You knew. You knew she wasn't home. But you stayed silent. You let my daughter die to protect your mother. I was a kid, he shouted. I was 9. And Lila was 13. And she died alone. In the dark. In cold water. Silence. Only the crackle of fire. Then I did what I'd planned. I didn't kill them. Not physically. I killed their souls. I turned on the voice recorder. The one that captured their campfire conversation. Then I pulled out my phone and showed Noah Claire's messages with Marcus. Every word. Everything's under control. You can turn this over to the police, I told Claire. Or I will. But then your son learns the full truth, not just about your affair, but that you didn't even try to save Lila. You came back, saw she wasn't in her room, and went to bed. Because you feared Marcus would find out you'd brought someone else's child. Claire collapsed to her knees. Noah stared at her with disgust. That's not true, she cried. I looked for her. You didn't call 911 until morning. Why? Because you feared the investigation would expose your affair with Marcus. You chose your lover over my daughter. I turned to Noah. You can forgive her. Or walk away. But know this, if you stay with her, you become just like her. A betrayer. He looked at his mother. Then at me. And left. Just stood and walked to the house. An hour later, he packed a bag and took a bus to Chicago to his father. Claire was alone. I didn't stay. Didn't watch her cry. I left. Left the recorder on the table. Let her decide, surrender or live with it. A month passed. Claire didn't surrender. Noah didn't return. She lost her job for good. Her house went up for sale. And I returned to my tulips. But revenge brought no peace. Every night, I see Lila. She stands by the lake, wet, eyes open. She isn't angry. She's sad. Mom, she says, why did you become this? I don't answer. Because I don't know. Revenge didn't bring her back. It only made me like the one I hated. 6 months later, Noah wrote me. He lives with his father. Studies. Sees a therapist. He asked forgiveness, not for his mother, but for himself. For staying silent. I replied, I forgive you. But I won't forget. Claire now lives in a small Milwaukee apartment. Works as a cleaner. Drinks less. Sometimes visits Lila's grave. Leaves flowers. I watch from afar. I didn't kill her son. I killed her lies. Her illusion of innocence. Her right to happiness. Sometimes that's enough. But sometimes, in the quietest nights, I wonder, what if I'd forgiven? What if I'd given her a chance? What if I'd chosen love over revenge? But then, who would have protected Lila? Who would have told the world she existed? She mattered. Her death wasn't just an accident? Maybe revenge is the last way to keep memory alive. And as long as I live, Lila lives too. In my pain. In my choice. In my silence. And Claire. Claire will live with this until her last breath. And let that be her punishment. Not prison. Not death. But the eternal knowledge you killed a child and lost your own.